The first time Elena Ross asked me for anything, she did it with her arms open in the middle of Riverside Park, like the ground had just dropped under her feet. I was 30 feet up in a sycamore, clipped into my harness, saw hanging from my belt. Up there, the world shrank to knots, angles, and how much weight my rigging line could take before it complained. Sunlight slipped through the leaves in thin, bright lines. My world was simple. Cut, lower, clean. Then I saw her stop on the path below. Elena walked that stretch almost every afternoon, phone in hand, shoulders straight, the kind of posture you get from years of sitting under bad fluorescent lights in public meetings. She was the youngest member of the city council, the one who actually read the packets and asked why the numbers did not add up. The old guys on the board called her spirited to her face and annoying when they thought she was out of range. I liked her anyway. Her phone buzzed. Small sound, big impact. She pulled it out, looked at the screen, and every bit of color drained from her face. Her hand missed the grab on a tissue, and it fluttered to the ground like a white flag. She reached for the nearest tree trunk like she needed something solid that would not lie. Even from up top, I could see her mouth move without sound, the way her shoulders pulled in. It was like someone had punched a hole straight through the careful way she carried herself in public. I did not think long. Head clear. I called to Marco on the ground. He stepped back from the drop zone. I clipped my rope into my descender and walked down the trunk. The friction device hissed. Bark scraped my arms. My boots hit mulch with a dull thud that made her flinch. She turned toward me. Elena was always put together when I saw her. Today she wore a simple black dress, a light coat, her hair pinned back in a twist. Nothing fancy, but neat, sharp, in control. Right now her hands shook. Her eyes went from my helmet to my safety glasses, to the sap on my gloves, then up to my face like she was checking if I was real. Her chest rose and fell fast. Then something in her gaze settled. She stepped forward and held her arms out. Not dramatic, not falling, just opening them. A clear ask. "Can you hug me, please?" she asked. No smile, no joke to soften it. People on the path slowed, curious. A mom with a stroller pretended to check her watch so she could keep watching. A jogger took one earbud out. Elena did not seem to care. She held the phone toward me with one hand like it was burning. The other stayed open, waiting. I took the phone first. A news alert filled the screen. Local councilwoman under fire. Her name in bold. A tight shot of her house. The word investigation shining like a threat. Underneath, a line about possible misuse of landscaping funds and, quote, personal benefit. The word embezzlement sat in the third paragraph like a landmine. "Only if you promise to tell me what is wrong," I said. Her throat worked. She swallowed hard and nodded once. No drama, no speech, just the smallest, honest motion. I stepped into her space and wrapped my arms around her shoulders, keeping my filthy gloves away from her coat. She grabbed the back of my gray t-shirt like it was a rail on a boat in heavy water. The top of her head fit under my chin. I could smell her shampoo, something soft and clean that did not match the bitterness of my world most days. Her whole body shook once, twice. Then a long, rough breath left her, like she had been holding it for hours. "Okay," I said, quietly, out of range of the rubberneckers. "Breathe. You are not alone in this park." She let herself lean into me for another few seconds. I felt the wild hammer of her heart start to slow against my chest. Then she pulled back fast, swiping at her eyes like they were misbehaving. "I am sorry," she said. "That was unprofessional." "I am not on your payroll," I said. "I climb trees. Hugging panicked public officials is extra." A small, broken laugh escaped her, then died. "He is accusing me of stealing," she said. "Councilman Vance leaked some half-cooked report. Says I funneled city landscaping funds into my own house. Says I paid your company to beautify my personal property with public money." Quote, she said it flat, but the word stealing scraped on the way out. "Did you?" I asked. Her eyes snapped up. For a second, offense flashed bright. Then it faded under something heavier. "No," she said. One word, solid as concrete. Every contract, every invoice, every check went through the city account with 3 signatures. I have copies of all of it. "Then we work with facts," I said. I handed her phone back. Show me his post. She scrolled. The report was a photo of a spreadsheet with some highlighted lines. A blurry picture of my truck in front. Some defending her. Many not. Footsteps crunched on the gravel behind her. Well, if it is not the woman of the hour, a male voice said. Councilman Vance walked around the curve in a tan coat and polished shoes that had never seen mud. 2 other board members drifted behind him like extra weight. He smiled wide. His eyes did not. Nice to see you out enjoying the park, he said. Big day for your name online, Ross. Elena went stiff beside me. Her fingers tightened around the phone. Her chin tried to lift, but I could see the way that headline still pressed down on her. I stepped half a foot forward, so I was clearly between them. This area is an active work zone, I said. My voice stayed level. We have gear hanging and limbs ready to come down. For safety, I need you behind the cones. Vance blinked, attention yanked to my harness and the warning signs that ringed the tree. Do you know who you are talking to? He asked. Yes, I said. I also know gravity does not care. A couple of people nearby turned their phones, now pointed at him instead of Elena. He weighed it. Fight the tree guy in front of cameras, or pretend he was above it, he snorted. Unskilled labor with a smart mouth, he said, but he took 2 steps back, just outside the cones. He turned his gaze back to Elena. If you have any sense, you will resign before the next meeting, he said. Save us all the trouble. Quote, Then he walked on, board members in tow. We stood there until his footsteps faded. Thank you, she said under her breath. You did not have to do that. There is a Widowmaker oak leaning over your kitchen, I said. The one with the split leader you asked me to look at last week. She blinked. Yes, I have not had time to schedule it. You have time now, I said. If that branch goes in a storm, it will take half your roof and probably your gas line. Elena looked suddenly small under the weight of everything stacked on her. Online accusations. A bully on the council. A dangerous tree over her house. All of it at once. I cannot pay you if they freeze my accounts, she said quietly. The city paid my last invoice on time, I said. You did not sneak anything. I know what my paperwork says. 5 o'clock. I will come look. Standard rate. Deferred invoice. Due when this clears. Her eyes searched my face like she was looking for strings. No favors, I added. No special deals. I am doing my job and I am not going to leave you with a limb that can punch through your kitchen in the middle of all this. Her shoulders loosened by a fraction. A little of that councilwoman steel slid back into place. 5, she said. I will have coffee. She turned to go, then hesitated. About the hug, she said, looking down at the gravel. I did not mean to put you in the middle of something. You did, I said. It is okay. I was already standing here. Her mouth twitched, like something between a smile and a wince. Then she nodded once and walked down the path, spine straight again, phone back in her hand like a shield. Marco whistled low from near the wood chipper. You just hugged the woman every hater in town is posting about, he said when I reached him. You planning to be in the next headline too, kid? My phone buzzed. A text from him popped up on my screen right after his words. Do not be a headline. Win with proof, not fists. I looked at Elena's shrinking figure, at the tree line, at the town that loved watching a fall. Too late to stay out of it, I said. The hug had already pulled me in. By 5 o'clock I would be in her backyard, under that split oak, with a rope in my hand and a choice to make about how far I was willing to go to stand between her and the next thing that wanted to crush her. At 5 o'clock sharp, I pulled my truck up in front of her house and cut the engine. From the street, Elena's place looked like it belonged on a postcard. Old Victorian lines, deep porch, tall windows. Up close, it looked more tired. Paint flaked along the trim. The front steps had a soft sag in the middle. The flower beds were overgrown, like even the plants were waiting to see what the town decided. The oak in the backyard was worse. From the ground, I could see the split in the main leader. A long, dark crack ran down the trunk where the big limb bent toward her kitchen roof. It leaned just enough to make my neck itch. One good winter storm, and that thing would come down fast, picking up weight and speed all the way to her stove. The back door opened with a creak. Elena stepped out with 2 coffee cups in her hands. Jeans, a gray sweater, bare feet and worn sneakers. Her hair was pulled up into a knot that had given up being neat. It was the first time I had seen her without her work mask on. She looked more like a person and less like a headline. "Black," she said, holding 1 cup out. Our fingers brushed on the handoff. She did not flinch. Her eyes went from the dirt on my knuckles to my face and stayed there a second longer than polite. "You did not have to come," she said. "I did," I said. "The tree is not going to wait for your name to clear." She let out a breath through her nose, then glanced up at the oak. "I cannot pay you until we know what they are going to freeze," she said, quiet. "The invoice will sit in a folder," I said. "You pay it when this is over. If the city owes me instead of you, they can cut the check. Either way, that limb does not care about your budget." "That is not how business works," she said. "That is how gravity works," I said. For a second, her mouth twitched. Almost a smile. I finished my coffee in 3 swallows, clipped my harness on, and went to work. Once I was in the tree, the noise in my head dropped away. The rope ran through my gloved hands. The bark was rough and steady under my spikes. I set a rigging block above the split and ran the lowering line through it. Every knot, every tie, was one more promise that I would not let anything fall where it did not belong. "Clear," I called. On the ground, Elena stepped back behind the line like I had told her. She wrapped her arms around herself, cup hanging from one hand, watching, like the whole house depended on this cut. It kind of did. I started taking the limb down in pieces. Shortcuts, clean angles. Each section swung on the rope, heavy and slow, until Marco eased it down into the grass behind the house. The air filled with the smell of fresh sap and sawdust. It covered the faint trace of her perfume and the sour bite of her fear. One chunk swung wider than I liked. It drifted toward the edge of the roof. I leaned back, fed the rope through the device fast, and pulled the limb away from the shingles before it could kiss metal. Elena's hands flew up to her mouth. When the wood finally settled safe on the ground, her shoulders dropped an inch. By the time I took the last heavy piece off, sweat ran down my back under my gray t-shirt. My forearms burned. My harness dug into my hips. It felt good. Real work always did. I came down slow. When my boots hit the grass, I unclipped and rolled my shoulders. "Leader is safe now," I said. "The rest can wait until spring, but that crack is not going to keep you up at night anymore." She stared up into the empty space where the dangerous limb used to be. The kitchen roof line looked lighter. "Thank you," she said. The words sounded stiff, like she was not used to saying them. Mrs. Gable, the neighbor, chose that moment to appear at the fence. She lifted her phone, pointed straight into Elena's yard, and started recording. "Smile," she called. "You two make a nice picture." Elena's back went straight. Her eyes darted from the phone to the pile of branches, then to me. I read the panic fast. Vance did not need facts. He needed images. One shot of her and me laughing over a tree could fuel a week of posts. "No chipper," I said under my breath. She nodded fast. "We cannot have the noise anyway. He would call it a party." "We can hand load," I said. "Truck bed, 1 run at a time, no big machines, no show." She looked at the pile. It was huge. Her jaw tightened. "I will help," she said. "That is not necessary," I said. "If you are not taking money yet, I am not standing here like a statue while you do everything," she said. "Give me a branch." There she was, the council voice, no apology. I put my saw down and picked up the first limb. She grabbed the other end, feet set, shoulders squared. "Bend your knees," I said, "not your back." She shot me a look, then did what I said. We carried the branches to the truck, stack by stack. She grunted once when a piece was heavier than it looked. I pretended not to hear. Halfway through, a twig scratched her cheek. She lifted her fingers and felt the small mark, then looked at the dirt on her hand. "Great," she said. "Now I look like I lost a fight with a hedge." "You did," I said, "but you are winning." Her mouth twitched again. This time, the smile stuck for a second. By the last load, we were both breathing hard. Her hair had fallen out of its twist and stuck to the side of her neck. There was dirt on the sleeve of her sweater. She did not wipe it off. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. The question came out soft, almost hidden under her breath. "Because the limb was dangerous," I said. "That is not what I meant," she said. Her eyes locked on mine. I wiped my glove on a rag and met her gaze. "Because I do not like bullies," I said, "and you are standing in the middle of one of their favorite games." She looked away for a second, toward the back of the yard where the old fence leaned. When she turned back, her eyes were shiny, but she was not crying. "There is more coming," she said. "He is not going to stop with one fake report." "Then we build a real one," I said. "You said you have copies of everything, invoices, checks, council notes." "Yes," she said slowly. "Then let me help you stack them," I said. "My work ends when the tree is safe. The rest is just paper. I can sort paper." Quote, "You are a tree guy," she said, "not a lawyer." "I plan jobs all day," I said. "It is the same idea. You lay it out, find the weak points, and then you cut clean. You do not give gravity room to make its own choices." I saw the thought land. I saw the old habit rise up at the same time. "I do not mix my mess with other people's lives," she said. Her voice was firm, but her hand shook as she pushed hair off her forehead. "You have a business to run. You should stay clear of this." My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from Marco. "Town is heating up. Remember what I said. Proof, not punches." I set my phone face down on her porch rail. "You called me into this the second you asked for that hug," I said. "That was a weak moment," she said. "It was a human one," I said. "And I made you a deal." Her eyebrows pulled together. "What deal?" Quote, "I said I would hug you if you promised to tell me what was wrong," I said. "You kept your side. I know what is wrong now. I am not backing out of mine just because it is every gossip thread in town." "I want you not to lose your job over a lie," I said. "I want the work we did in this yard to show as city work in those files. I want my invoices to line up with the truth. And I want to keep looking you in the eye without feeling like a coward." Color rose slow in her cheeks. Her fingers tightened around the empty coffee cup. "What if I cannot fix it?" she asked. The words came out very quiet. I took the cup from her before she dropped it. "Then at least you did not go down alone," I said. "And you did not make it easy for him." For a second, the air between us felt thick, heavy with fear and something else that did not have a name yet. Her hand lifted. It hovered near my chest, close enough that I could feel the heat of it through my shirt. She did not touch me. "Can I ask one more thing?" she whispered. I nodded. "You can ask." Quote, "Can you hug me again?" she asked. "If I promise not to pretend I am fine this time." My throat tightened. "Only if you promise to tell me when it gets worse," I said. "Not just when it breaks." She nodded once, honest again. This time when I pulled her in, she did not just grip my shirt like a handle. She wrapped her arms all the way around me and let her forehead rest against my chest. Her shoulders shook once, then twice. I held on and watched the last light fade between the branches of the oak we had just made safe. Tomorrow would be noise and meetings and screens. Tonight, it was just two people in a backyard, holding on in the space between trouble and proof. Elena's dining table turned into a war room faster than I expected. The next night, I walked in with a cheap cardboard file box and a roll of blue painter's tape. She already had stacks of paper waiting. Council packets, vendor contracts, bank printouts, a whole forest cut down in her living room. "You came back," she said. "You still have trees on your street," I said, "and a bully on your neck." Quote, she stared at the box in my hands. "What is that for?" "Lanes," I said. "We are going to lay this out so a kid could follow it." She hesitated, then nodded. Okay, show me. I tore strips of tape and ran them down the table, making 4 long lanes. City contracts, I said, tapping the first one. Your board votes and minutes, vendor invoices, including mine, and bank records. We make a timeline they cannot twist. She watched me work like she was trying to figure out how a tree guy knew anything about paper. You do this for jobs? She asked. Different numbers? Same idea, I said. You do not drop a limb until you know where it will land. We started sorting. I took the heavy stacks, spread them by date, slid them into lanes. She hovered at first, correcting small things, then finally took a seat across from me, legal pad in hand. Her handwriting was fast and sharp. Names, dates, notes for her lawyer. After an hour, the light over the sink started to flicker. Elena glared at it like it had betrayed her. Of course, she muttered. Perfect. Quote. I stood, grabbed a fresh bulb from the little box above her fridge, and swapped it out. When the new light clicked on steady, the whole room seemed less tired. You just fix things, she said. Things that break, I answered, and went back to the table. She sifted through a folder and hissed under her breath. Paper cut, she said, annoyed. I slid the box of bandages across without looking up. She stared at it, then at me, then rapped her finger. We worked until the clock on her microwave hit 11. The house settled around us. Outside, rain started to tap the windows. Inside, the only sound was the steady shuffle of paper. At some point, Elena pushed back from the table. When she stood, her hand flew to her temple. Her eyes squeezed flat for a second. Headache? I asked. I am fine, she said. Her voice said she was not. I walked to her freezer, found an ice pack, wrapped it in a dish towel, and came back. She watched me like she wanted to argue but was too tired to form the words. Turn around, I said. You are very bossy for a contractor, she said, but she turned. I set the ice pack against the back of her neck. Her whole body jumped, then melted a little. The muscles along her shoulders softened under my hand. Breathe, I said, long ones. She drew in a deep breath, then another. I could feel the tension leaving on each exhale. Do not tell anyone you do this, she muttered. Too late, I said. I already know you are human. Her lips twitched. For a second, the pain lines around her eyes smoothed out. We went back to the table. She lasted another hour before her handwriting got sloppy. Sit, I said. I will finish this stack. You have work in the morning, she said. So do you, I said. That is why I am still here. She looked at me across the sea of paper, like she was trying to memorize the fact that someone else was holding part of the load. I hate that I need help, she said. You do not, I said. You are still doing the work. You just are not doing it alone. Her throat moved. She looked down at the lane of bank records and kept sorting. The next day, the town pushed back. A reporter showed up on her porch before noon. When I pulled into her driveway with a stack of empty folders, he was already there. Camera in one hand, mic in the other. Ms. Ross, is it true you diverted park funds to your own yard? He called through the open door. Is that your tree guy? Are you in a relationship? Elena froze in the hall. I saw the way her shoulders pulled in. I stepped into the doorway. Private residence, I said. No comment. He shifted to get the camera past me. I moved half a foot and blocked the angle without touching him. You can film the sidewalk, I said, not inside. If you do not step back, we will call it trespass. You look guilty hiding behind him, he said to Elena. She lifted her chin. I have nothing to hide, she said. Which is why I will speak when the investigation is actually open, not on my doorstep for clicks. She shut the door. Her fingers shook on the lock. When she turned, there was anger in her eyes now, not just fear. We went back to the table. By late afternoon, we had the first clear picture. Every check to my company lined up with a council vote and a public work order. Every job had a photo in the city file. No extras. No under-the-table favors. If they look at this and still call it theft, they are lying on purpose, I said. They will, she said. He will. What else can he hit you with? I asked. She ran a hand through her hair. Optics, she said. The way it looks. I am a single woman. You are younger. You came to my house. You hugged me in public. She said it like it was a crime. My phone buzzed. Marco again. He is telling vendors you are on her payroll. Do not swing at him. Paper only. I showed her the text. He wants you gone too, she said. He does not sign my checks, I said, and he does not get to decide who I stand next to. Night fell fast. The rain that had tapped at the windows turned into a steady drum. Near 7, Elena's phone chimed with a new alert. She picked it up, glanced at the screen, and went white. "What is it?" I asked. She handed me the phone with stiff fingers. It was a picture of a check. Her name. My company. $20,000. The caption under it said, "Secret payment proves conflict." My stomach dropped. I read it again. The check number, the date, the signature. "That is not real," she whispered. "I never wrote that. That is my signature, but I never signed that check." I zoomed in. The numbers on the bottom line were wrong. The spacing was off. The account number looked right, but the check code put it in the middle of last year, and we both knew those checks had already been used. "Your checks run in order," I said. "This one jumps backward." She stared at the screen like it was a ghost. "They are saying we planned this together," she said. "That you cashed it, that I told the city it was for park work." Her breathing went shallow. She took a step toward the hallway like she needed to move or she would explode. "Elena," I said. She did not stop. Her whole body shook. "Elena," I said again. She turned too fast. Her hand hit the edge of the table. Papers slid. A stack of minutes fell to the floor. "I should go down there," she said. "Walk into the station. Turn myself in before they come for me. At least then I can control it." She headed for the door. I stepped in front of her and caught her shoulders. Not hard, firm, enough to stop her without pinning her. "You are not walking into a police station over a screenshot," I said. "Breathe." Her eyes were wide and wet. Her hands were fists at her sides. For a second, I thought she was going to push me away. Instead, her fists opened, her arms wrapped around my ribs and squeezed. It was not a neat hug this time. It was raw. Her forehead hit my chest. Her fingers twisted tight in my shirt. Her whole body shook against me. "Can you hug me?" she asked against the fabric, the words breaking, "even if I do not have anything left to promise?" My throat burned. "I will hug you," I said. "But you are still going to tell me what is wrong, all of it. We are not done." She let out a sound that was almost a sob and almost a laugh at the same time. Her muscles finally gave up and relaxed into my hold. I kept one arm tight around her back and reached for the phone with my free hand. The fake check stared up at me. "Tomorrow," I said, more to myself than to her. "We go to the bank. We get real proof. We stop letting him write the story." The rain hit the windows harder. The house seemed to lean in to listen. By morning, the whole town would have that image on their screens. By morning, I would have one shot to pull the truth out of a system that liked to move slow, and to keep her from drowning in a lie that was built with her own forged name. The bank lobby smelled like old carpet and cold air. It also smelled like rules. I did not bring Elena inside with me. She waited in my truck with the heater on, hands wrapped around a coffee cup she was not drinking. Her eyes kept going to the fake check picture on her phone like it might change if she stared hard enough. Inside, a woman at the counter gave me the polite, tired smile people give when they expect you to ask for something they cannot give. "Can I help you?" she asked. "My name is Jack Turner," I said. "I own Turner Tree Service. Someone posted a picture of a check online saying I got paid 20 grand from a councilwoman's personal account. I need to know how to prove that check is fake without breaking any of your rules." Her smile faded. "We cannot discuss another customer's account with you," she said. "I am not asking you to," I said. "I am asking for the process. What does an attorney need to ask for so you can say in writing if a check number was ever used?" She studied me for a second. "Her name tag," said Harper. "You said this is online," she said. "Yes," I said, "and a councilman is waving it around like a weapon." She sighed. The kind of sigh that said she had seen a lot of stupid things come through the system. "An attorney can send us a request for verification of an issued instrument," she said. with the check number, for legal reasons. We can respond to them, in writing, not to you, to them." She pulled a form from under the counter and slid it toward me. "This explains it," she said. "Your lawyer fills that out. We answer them." "You cannot just say it now," I said. Her jaw tightened. "If I say it to you, it is gossip," she said. "If I say it in a signed letter to an attorney, it is evidence." That landed. "Thank you," I said. On my way out, she lowered her voice. "And for what it is worth," she said, "even from here I can see that image looks off. Our checks do not print like that." Back in the truck, I handed the form to Elena. "We need your lawyer," I said, "today." Her hand shook a little as she dialed. When she spoke to her attorney, her voice was steady. She asked for exactly what Harper had said. No more, no less. By late afternoon, we had an email with a letter attached. The bank stated the check number in the image did not match any issued item on her personal account. They said it had never cleared. They said it did not exist in their records. Elena read it 3 times. Then she sat down on her front steps hard, like someone had cut her strings. "It is fake," she whispered. "On paper, not just in my head." "Then we do not go to the station in tears," I said. "We go to the town hall with this in a folder." She looked up at me. "They will still say things," she said. "They will still think things." "They already do," I said. "This is not about changing every mind. It is about stopping him from using a lie as law." The hearing was 3 days later. The council chamber was full. People stood along the walls. Local news squeezed into the back with cameras. Vance sat at the front table with his papers stacked neatly, suit perfect, hair perfect, smile sharp enough to cut. Elena sat 1 seat away. Her suit was black. Her hair was pulled back tight. Her hands were laced together on the table. I could see the white at her knuckles from the back row. The mayor opened the meeting. They talked about other items first. Trash, zoning. It all sounded far away. Then the mayor cleared his throat. "Next," he said, "we will address the public concern regarding Councilwoman Ross and alleged misuse of funds." Vance stood like he had been waiting his whole life for that line. "As you all have seen," he said, voice smooth, "a concerned citizen came forward with documents that raise questions about Councilwoman Ross's use of city money. I have here a check from her personal account, made out to Turner Tree Service, and a list of city payments to the same company during the same period." He held up a printout of the picture. The camera zoomed in. People leaned forward. "We must take ethics seriously," he said. "We cannot let private interests take from public money." My heart pounded. My hands curled around the folder in my lap. The mayor turned to Elena. "Councilwoman Ross, do you have a response?" Elena stood. For a second I saw her wobble. Then she found her balance. "Yes," she said, "I do." Her voice carried, clear, calm. It made the room quiet without having to shout. "First," she said, "I have no private contract with Mr. Turner. Every job his company did for this town went through the city account, with full council approval. Those records are in the clerk's office and on our website." Quote. She nodded toward the clerk, who held up a thick binder without comment. "Second," she said, "the image of that personal check is fake. My attorney requested verification from Riverbank to confirm whether that check number was ever issued on my account." They responded in writing. She looked toward the back. "Jack," she said, "would you bring that to the front?" I stood, folder in hand, knees suddenly not as steady as I wanted. People turned to look. Whispers rose, then stopped when the mayor lifted a hand. I walked down the center aisle. Every step felt loud. I passed Vance's table. He watched me with a smirk that said he still thought he had this in his pocket. I laid the folder on the table in front of the mayor. "Riverbank's letter is on top," I said. "Signed, dated, you can read it into the record." The clerk took it, scanned it quickly, then handed it to the mayor. The room was so quiet I could hear the paper move. "The bank confirms," the mayor read. "The check number 1438 was never issued on account, ending in 4021. They state that no check with that number exists in their system, and no such item cleared or attempted to clear on Councilwoman Ross's personal account." He looked up. The room shifted. Elena did not smile. She did not sag. She just stood there and let the words land. "And third," she said, There is the question of why this happened at all. She took a breath. The same councilman who shared that image, she continued, has been pushing a plan to rezone the wetlands behind the park for luxury condos. I have opposed that plan in every meeting. I have asked where the runoff will go. I have asked what happens to the neighborhoods when flooding gets worse. I have refused to give him the easy yes. She picked up another piece of paper. Last week, my attorney also filed a complaint with the state, she said, with copies of old survey records that show edits made to those wetland maps under his name. She did not slam the paper down. She did not wave it. She just spoke. If anyone here is using public resources for private gain, she said, it is not me. Quote, there was a long, deep silence. Then a low murmur, the kind that sounds less like gossip and more like a crowd waking up. Vance opened his mouth, but the city attorney cut him off. A state investigation is now open, the attorney said. We will not be discussing that part of this in a public meeting. The mayor cleared his throat again. Given the bank's letter, he said, these embezzlement concerns about Councilwoman Ross have no foundation. He looked straight at Vance. I remind all members, he said, that sharing unverified financial images as fact can carry its own consequences. The cameras caught his face. For the first time since I had known his name, Vance looked truly off balance. The meeting moved on. I went back to my seat. My legs felt light. When I passed Elena's chair, her hand brushed my sleeve. Small touch, quick, enough to say I see you, enough to keep me from floating away. 2 weeks later, the state announced the wetlands would stay protected while they looked into the rezoning mess. Vance took personal leave from the council. People stopped whispering when she walked into a room and started greeting her again like she still belonged there. Her name did not disappear from the internet, but the words next to it changed. Cleared. Bank letter. False report. I went back to trees. Life could have gone back to normal after that. Climb, cut, haul, eat, sleep, repeat. It did not. One Saturday, the town threw its fall festival downtown. Food trucks. Kids with painted faces. A band playing covers in the square. I was there checking the big oaks for dead limbs before they strung more lights. I looked up from my clipboard and saw her. Elena walked through the crowd in jeans and a dark green jacket, hair down around her shoulders. No suit. No folders. She looked different without the weight of a meeting on her back. People stopped to talk to her. Some apologized. Some cheered her. She accepted it all with a small nod and a tight smile. Then she saw me. She changed direction and walked straight over. Councilwoman, I said. Tree guy, she said. We stood there between a funnel cake stand and the stage, the smell of sugar and smoke in the air. How are the oaks? She asked. Safer than last month, I said. How are the ethics charges? Gone, she said. On paper, at least. The noise will take longer. I can wait, I said. She looked down at my hands. They were, as usual, scarred. A little sap stuck in one knuckle. Jack, she said quietly, you did not have to do any of what you did. Not the bank form, not the timeline, not that night when I almost ran to the station like an idiot. You were not an idiot, I said. Her eyes lifted to mine. And you kept hugging me, she said. Even when I kept trying to say I was fine. You asked, I said. I made you a promise. She took a small step closer. The noise of the crowd faded a little. I want to change that deal, she said. How? I asked. From now on, she said, you do not have to wait until I am falling apart to hug me. You can hug me just because you want to, if you still want to. My heart thudded once hard. You sure? I asked. She nodded. As long as you keep that second half too, she said. Only if I promise to tell you what is wrong. The real things. Not just the easy stuff. I let out a breath I had not realized I was holding. Then yes, I said. I still want to. This time I did not look around for cameras. I did not check the angles. I just opened my arms. She stepped into them without hesitation. Her cheek pressed against my chest. Her hands slid around my back. She did not hold on like she was drowning this time. She held on like she had chosen a place to stand. "You know," she said, voice muffled in my shirt, "I have been scared for months that getting close to you would ruin your life." "Maybe you kept it from getting smaller," I said. "You gave me something to fight for that was not just limbs and load lines." She leaned back enough to look at me. Her eyes were wet, but she was smiling now, a real one. Soft and strong at once. "Jack," she said, "can you hug me, even on the days nothing is wrong?" "Yes," I said. "But you know the rule." She arched one eyebrow. "Which one?" Quote, "Only if you promise," I said, "to keep telling me when something is." Her hand came up to my jaw. Her fingers were warm. "I promise," she said. I pulled her back in and held her there in the middle of the noise and the lights and the whole town that had watched her fall and get back up. Later, when we walked home under the street lamps, our hands found each other without asking for permission. Her shoulder brushed mine. Her laugh came easier. And when she stopped under the big sycamore at the edge of the park, the same one where this started, she looked up at me and smiled. "Can you hug me?" she asked. I stepped behind her, wrapped my arms around her, and rested my chin on her hair. "Every time you ask," I said, "and every time you do not know how to ask yet." She relaxed fully against me. For the first time, it did not feel like she was falling. It felt like she had finally found somewhere solid to land.